Hello and welcome to today's episode of Value in the Community. My name is Irene Agumbiade, I'm your host. And today we're looking at a very interesting topic, and that's the topic of women supporting one another. There's often talk of women not supporting one another. Today we want to discuss that topic and to get to the bottom of the issue. Do women actually not support one another, or is it just a myth? With me looking at that topic today are three ladies. I've got Pastor Adeyinka Are. Pastor Adeyinka Are is the founder of Choose Right, Choose Life. Choose Right, Choose Life is a platform which encourages people to live a purposeful life and encourages their spiritual well-being and mental well-being. Pastor Yinka, you're most welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Great to have you. I've also got Monica Biokoro. Monica Biokoro is the managing director of IQAC. IQAC is a managing consultancy and training business which helps businesses to perform well. Monica has also headed a women's ministry for a period of 4 years. Monica, you're most welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Great to have you. I've also got Pastor Eileen Onumonu. Pastor Eileen is the convener of Beautiful Countenance. Beautiful Countenance is a fellowship where people from different denominations worldwide gather together on a monthly basis to pray for families. And God's name is being glorified in their midst. Pastor Eileen, you're most welcome to the program today.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Now, ladies, we have the pleasure of discussing this very important topic of women supporting one another or not. So I'm going to come to you, ladies, and ask you the first question, which is, do women actually support one another? And this is just a myth. And I'll come to you first, Pastor Yinka.
Thank you for that. I would say that it's not a myth that we get to hear that women don't support one another. I'll say yes to it, that women don't support one another, and I'll say no, but I'll explain why. I think there's just this spirit of competition that is everywhere, not just in women, but I think it's more with women, that when they're like peers and they are contemporaries, or when they have people who are their subordinates who are women tend to oppress them. Women tend to want to suppress them as well, not wanting them to get to their own level. And I've experienced a bit of it as well. And of course, I've also experienced women supporting me as well. So in a way, yes. And I also will say yes, yes to the fact that women do support women, and no, that is not in all cases. A lot of times when we see a woman who's like a role model to us, who is doing something big and is out there, not at any level of competition with us, we support such women. Women tend to support themselves at that level. But when they're contemporaries, and then you have women as your subordinates, you don't want them to get to your level, or you don't want them to compete with you where you are. So it's not a myth. Women don't support one another at some level. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Pastor Yinka. I'll come to you, Pastor Eileen. What's your view? What's your opinion about this?
Just like what Pastor Yinka said, it could work in both ways. Some women support each other, but a great majority of women don't support each other. I don't even know why, but it just seems to be the case. And she just aptly said, it depends. Women are prone to being in cliques, in groups, So in their group, in their little groupings, they can support each other. But outside that group, it seems like they don't want anybody to come up. They don't want anybody to be like them. And Pastor Are mentioned spirit of competition. And it's amazing to know that even that spirit of competition can be found in the church. And then you start wondering, do you not want people to progress? Do you not want to bring people up? Forgetting the word of God in Titus that says that the older women should mentor the younger ones, teach them how to love their husbands, teach them how to rule their homes, But on the other hand, if you look deeply, you find out that some women don't even want to be mentored. Some women, they especially the younger ones, they think they know it all. So, you can't help somebody who does not realize that they need some kind of help or support, as it were. You understand? So that's what I'll say for now.
Thank you very much for that, Pastor Wiley. Over to you, Monica.
Thanks for that. Yeah, I agree with what Pastor Yinka and Pastor Eileen have said so far. Yes, it's twofold. I'll say yes and no. Yes, when women support each other, they support because they expect to get something back from the other woman. They have to have a common goal. So it's like you bring something to the table, I bring something to the table. And when they're like meeting of equals, and when somebody do not have that ability, there might be some sort of friction. So that is yes, they support each other. But no, it's not that straightforward. Sometimes it might appear as if they're helping, and then they might signpost the person into the wrong direction. I've seen that happen so many times. And then something that would take somebody a very, very short time to achieve, it will take them a longer time, because this person trying to help will help in such a way that they want to know every step the other person is taking. And then also what Pastor Eileen was saying about younger people tending to know it all. From another perspective, there might be people who don't trust others because of what they've gone through. They just want to keep up appearance. They just want people to see everything's going on well in their lives. Why? They've been hurt before. So they just have to close up somehow. So they are not willing to receive support because somebody who tried to give them support before, somewhere down the line, something went wrong. So I will say yes and no at the same time.
Thank you very much for that. Which takes me to the next question. That is it just a problem amongst women, or is it something that men also go through? Is it just a women's thing? And I'm going to come to you first, Pastor Yinka.
Like I almost mentioned when I was talking, I don't think it's a women thing. Competitive spirit is not limited to women. It started even in the Bible days with Cain and Abel. So the men too have it. But I'll say that with women, we are more expressive with our feelings. We are more expressive with our emotions. So people tend to see how we feel, more than they see with men. Men can cover what they feel or whatever they want to do with the hard face and the hardness you think you see all about men, and they know how to handle things better than us, than women. So it's not just limited to women. To women, it happens everywhere, but it may not be more with men because of their own because of the way they are wired. That's what we say. They are wired differently from women, so it may not be so obvious with them, but it happens everywhere. It happens everywhere. They handle it better, but women don't. And then most women, their hearts are on their faces. They see how they feel right on their faces, so they express it more. That's what I'll say on that.
Which, thank you very much for that, which makes me think that maybe it's better that the women are able to express themselves so that we can solve this problem once and for all. Because if, from what you're saying, men are also going through the same thing and they're only able to cover it up because they're not as expressive as women are, then I'd say there's a problem there also. I'm going to go over to you, Pastor Eileen, and ask what your own view is about this. Do men also, in your own opinion, also have this problem and they just cover it up like Pastor Yinka said, or is there another angle to it?
Yeah, I do believe that men also go through the same thing. Like she said, the spirit of competition is not, unique to women. But you know how men are wired, like the words she used. Men are able to, cover their inadequacies better than women can. Men believe that they have to portray that macho image. They must come across as, strong, able to carry on their own affairs. Unlike women, you can, read from their body language, their facial expression. If they see something that is too much for them, it shows immediately. And women talk more. Men can have those issues and just don't discuss it with anybody. But women, we talk, we meet up with each other, we share things. So yeah, anybody can go through lack of support. But I think the most important thing is to be able to ask for support if you do need it, rather than just carry on in isolation and suffer in the process.
Thank you very much for that. So it looks like the problem is more noticeable because women talk more. So if they're not supporting one another, everyone knows about it from their expression, from the way they talk, whereas men might not say much about it, but they are not actually in support of one another as much as we would like to think. Thank you very much for that, Pastor Eileen. Monica, what's your own opinion about this? Do men support one another? Or is it the women's thing?
It's similar to women. Men do not support one another, but they do to some extent. I asked a man, and the perspective of a man is they collaborate, but they don't collaborate straight away. They just believe that you achieve what you have to achieve, and then the other party achieve what they have to achieve. And then eventually they come together to achieve a common goal. They are more goal-driven, business-oriented. They just want to make an impact. So with that, for example, when you look at sports or business or getting a contract, as an example, everybody goes for it. But then when you're successful, they are very open to share. But when it gets to a woman, we're more emotional, we're more closed up, we're not as friendly as men are with each other. A man will not attach a relationship with another man to maybe emotion. They just want to achieve what they want to achieve. For example, what they said is when they grow up together and maybe they live in the same vicinity or they attend the same school or maybe something or work the same way, and then they see something else they want to achieve, they don't mind going ahead to get it. And they don't have to be with that person they've been with all along. They're ready to make and forge new friendships. So, well, I would say to some extent, men approach helping each other better than women.
All right. I don't know which is worse. But now, what I want to ask you, ladies, is what are the problems that this issue causes us as women, or even causes all mankind, whether women or men or the young ones? What are the problems that this lack of cooperation, whether in men or women, because we have ascertained that it's not just amongst women. So what is this lack of cooperation, lack of collaboration, lack of support for one another, this spirit of competition, competitiveness? What is it costing us? What's the cost to us of it? And I'm going to come to you first, Pastor Eileen.
In my view, I'll also take my cue from the Bible. God told the children of Israel to always pass down from one generation to the other, the kind of things that they've learned from God, their custom, their way of life. So I believe that in not supporting each other, we've lost a lot of things along the line. We've lost our culture. We've even lost the way of worshiping God, or how to worship God, or how to bring up children, or what to do as a young woman, how to, kind of, rule your home as a woman. When I was growing up, my mom was Sierra Leonean. So in that Sierra Leonean community, once you get married, they take you into their wings and they start grooming you and teaching you how to cook, how to, make delicacies, how to look after your husband, how to bring up your children. So that was the culture then. But whilst growing up, I just found out that that is lost. We don't see the older women helping the younger ones. We don't see anybody telling you anything about your culture. My kids, most of them were born here in England. They've never gone back to Nigeria. They don't know much. If I don't tell them, if another auntie does not tell them, they don't know. All they know is the culture of the United Kingdom. So these are the kind of things we can lose, valuable cultural or moral standing that we lose along the line, not to talk about religious moral upbringing also. So that's just in a nutshell. So many other things that we could lose.
Thank you very much for that. Monica, what are the other things that you can identify that are the issues that, or that the disadvantages of us not supporting one another, not collaborating with one another more?
Well, I'll say the disadvantage is they don't get to achieve a lot. And the reason why that is so, it boils down to culture again. Culture is a factor. Also, the extent of where a woman has achieved is another factor. When I go back to culture, I'll say, for example, a woman has grown up in an environment whereby she's not been nurtured to value herself. She's been constantly told that men are better than her, or maybe they have to achieve. So she has a very, very low esteem growing up, coming into maybe the workplace or just in general in her social life. She's not able to relate. So lack of, one thing Pastor Eileen was saying is lack of passing down of a good culture. It might be from a Christian perspective. It might be from just day-to-day upbringing or how people relate to each other. When that's lost, it's very difficult to communicate. And then also another disadvantage is not sharing. When people don't know how to share, they've attained a leadership level. For example, a woman who's attained, and she ought to be the one signposting other people to what they're supposed to achieve. And she decides she does not want to share because she wants to be the only one at that level. Looking at in a corporate environment, for example, whereby you can see men might be dominating and she's there, and then because of statistics, she wants to remain there. And she just decides to maybe be bitchy. Let me not say the word. Anyway, not in such a way that she's aggressive, she's not. She doesn't show empathy. She wants to be equal to the men. She wants to be accepted in that situation. So she acts in such a way that maybe if she's given the opportunity to bring a fellow woman into a particular role, maybe sitting in an interview, for example, she will be the one that would give that individual a hard time. She'd rather employ a man than to employ a woman. There's that bit as well. So it's very sad. So yeah, so that's some of the contribution I've got to say on that.
Thank you very much for that. And Pastor Yinka?
What we get to lose when we don't support one another is a lot. But I'll start by going back to what it means for a woman to support another woman. It means for a woman to be able to lift the other one up, encourage that other person, in the workplace and the church. Just be there to cover up, shortcomings or weaknesses, and you'll be able to strengthen you when you need strength. I think that's what women supporting women is about. Being able to lift one another up, encourage the other person and all of that. So when it is not there, which is what has been experienced in so many places, with so many relationships, it gets to the point that it gets a bit toxic. To the point that the environment becomes very hostile, even for everybody that is working there, assuming it's in a workplace where you don't have that kind of coexistence that you should have, because we're women there, we're trying to fight one another. It makes the environment very hostile, and then you don't get to achieve the things you want to achieve. I've experienced it before, even in the church, and it got to the point that even things that ordinarily I should be informed about, I didn't get to hear because somebody was trying to flex that, I'm bigger than you in this place, and there must be something that we must be pulling when there's nothing to pull. So, so looking at that, we lose a lot of achievements that we should think that we should do easily becomes very difficult. And then when the environment is hostile, you can never get things done right. So we lose a lot in terms of achievement. And then the Bible talks about when there's strife, it says there's division and evil work. And I always say that, that kind of attitude is from the devil. It can never be from God. When we allow God to actually live in our hearts as we should, if we're Christians and we're children of God, we're people of faith, those things would not exist. That unhealthy kind of competition will not be in our midst. But once it's there, we give the devil a chance to be able to operate. Because we may think, I'm not fighting that other woman, I'm just not for the person. But we have already opened the door for the devil to be able to play its role. So, we lose achievements. We lose, things get slower for us. Even when we achieve, it gets slower. And then it's an opportunity for the devil to wreak his havoc in that community, organization, wherever it is we're having that kind of conflict. And then when the devil is there, you can just kind of imagine how far it can go. Whatever it has to offer would always be bad. So it's not good. There's no part of it that is good. So the best thing for us is to get to the point where we're able to support one another wherever we find ourselves working together as women. Thank you.
Wow, ladies, thank you so much for that. It seems that we have so much to lose we are losing so much. Not that we have so much to lose. We are losing so much. We are missing out on a lot of things by not collaborating more. Because personally, I have seen the power in women supporting one another. I have also seen the other side when women do not support one another. And like you've rightly pointed out, it doesn't benefit anyone. It slows us down. It means that we achieve less. I can't remember, just recently, I think somebody was saying that a young lady were about to get married, but there was a problem with their mothers. The mother of the young man and the mother of the young lady, they had some problems between themselves in the past, and that created a lot of problems. And these young ones are just trying to live their lives. And so that now becomes a whole different issue. And so the marriage cannot go forward because two women are still struggling with some kind of suspicion about one another. There's too much to lose, or we are losing too much, and it's pulling us back. And as you have pointed out, where there's strife, there's a whole lot of other issues that, it's just one thing after another. What do we do? Because the reason we are having this discussion today is to see what we can do. Before I came on this show, knowing that we were going to have this discussion today, I asked a young lady what their opinion was about women not supporting one another. And the interesting answer was yes, women do not actually support one another. So I asked, has it happened to you? Or has it happened to someone else? Where did you get that idea from? And the person said, well, no, it's never happened to me, but I've always heard it or I've seen people who have, who say that it's happened to them. And that got me thinking, ladies, that it's even so bad that some people who have not experienced it now say yes without thinking, without having to think twice about the question. Yes, women do not support one another. That's quite right, because I hear it spoken of often enough. And so it must be true, even though I haven't experienced it. Now, ladies, does this now contribute to the problem? With people being brought up, or people growing up, or people just hearing it being said, like Pastor Eileen said, sometimes women talk a lot because of the way we are wired. And so, this issue is discussed often. So the fact that it's being talked about more, does it now spread it? Does it make the issue wider and bigger than it ought to be? What's your own opinion, Monica?
I would say it's been a problem. They don't support each other, but at the same time, they support each other. And I would say for those people who get support, they should say a lot more. In my own experience, I've had great support in business and also when in ministry as well. It's been awesome. And as you said, when you interview that young lady, you see by default, she'll just say, okay, no, they don't support each other. The reason why she would have said that is because we don't say it enough when people has helped us in such a way. So maybe the best way would be to change the narrative to say, oh, well, we do get supported. And then when we do get supported, it's really beautiful. Because the way God has created women, we are such fantastic beings that when we come together, we can accomplish a lot, you know. Because I remembered when I started out in the women ministry, it was a bit difficult initially because the feedback I got initially, or just starting off, the person had a negative experience and just said, women don't work together. So it was a damper for me. But eventually I carried on. That was my very first workshop. And then through the years as it went, it grew and it grew and it grew. To the extent that when it got to, it was that year, in that year that we had a Valentine meeting. They decided not to go for their dates. Their partners or husbands were able to release them because of the effect of what is done for them in their relationships. So it was positive, I would say, you know. So, but I'm not saying I've had very, very good support as well. So we should say more when that's happened to us.
Thank you very much for that. So it's a case of, yes, this might be the case because people are not talking about the positive experiences and they're talking more about the negative experiences. That's why such a lady and maybe others, you know, get the idea or get it into their heads that women do not support women and we need to stop that. I'm going to come over to you now, Pastor Eileen. Do you think that this is a contributory factor? People not talking about the positive experiences more.
Yes, I think it is. Because if you approach another woman from the perspective of the fact that you believe that you will not work well with that person, definitely you won't. As a man thinketh in his heart, so he is. So we're not speaking a lot about the kind of support we get. And I believe some women don't even want to share the fact that somebody supported them. Somebody showed them the rope. But probably they want to come across as knowing it all themselves, you see. Where is the love? Where is the love? You can't support somebody if you don't love the person. You can't love the person if you don't build a relationship. You understand? Somebody can't just walk up to me and want me to support them if I don't know them. You know, so we need to give ourselves that latitude to build a relationship, get to know this person, get to know this woman. You understand? Some women like to go for the flashy kind of women. You know, you don't even know what's happening in their lives, but your perception is that they've made it, they've achieved it. So people kind of gravitate to such women, but you don't really know the person. You know, and if you don't know them, it's easy for you to say you can't work with them because you just don't know them. So I think we should come back to what our Lord and Savior Jesus said, that we'll be known by the way we love one another. It's just as simple as that. That's the decisive factor. That's the thing that sets us apart from anybody else, is the fact that we love one another. And I'll give an example. A lady, a pastor friend of mine needed to do something seriously. She had a book she wanted to publish. She didn't know how to. And then she said when she prayed, my name came to her and she calls me. Oh, you're going to have to help me with this book. I said, wow, the Holy Spirit sent you to me, but I know somebody who can help you. And so I gave her the phone number of another friend who is very versatile in things like that. And this lady, without even meeting her up, took this project, fixed the book up, put it on Amazon, everything. When this other lady called me and said, I have never in my life met anybody like this lady. I said, she's good. She's a good woman. They don't know each other. That is the kind of thing I'm talking about. That's support. without even taking a penny from her. This lady is from Kenya. This other lady is a Nigerian. You know, and she phoned me and said, oh my God, I have never. So if we have more occasions like that, it's not like they want anything from each other. There was a situation, somebody needed help, and a woman stepped in and did it. That's what we should be doing. That's what I believe, how we should even help each other and help people. I think we should go back to the love of God, sharing that is shared abroad in our hearts, and begin to spread it to other people. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, ladies. I mean, I just feel like I should bottle up all the things that you have said. I wish I could, but I guess this video is going to have to suffice. That is so powerful. That is so powerful. That is so powerful. And we really have nothing to be competitive about. We really have nothing to fight about. You know what you ladies are saying, it reminds me of an article that I read where women in a particular organization were, antagonistic and suspicious of one another. And someone in the organization, I don't know whose idea it was, brought them all together to work together. Before then, these women had some kind of notion about one another that prevented them from coming together. But after working together for a length of time, these women started to relate better with one another. And the article, which was, publishing that report, said that the women started to say, oh, I didn't know that you are this friendly. I didn't know that you are like this. But a lot of assumptions had been made without even getting to know one another. And so we really need to give one another a chance. And that's what I hope our discussion is going to facilitate, really amongst women, that we really should give each other a chance. That other woman is not necessarily a monster. Even if she walks past with her nose in the air or maybe a frown on her face, it might be just because of something that she's going through. So what I'm getting from all the discussion is that we really should give each other a chance. We should give each other the benefit of the doubt. And I like the element of love, because I don't see how we can, not be supportive of one another if we have love. And that's a good way to look at it, that God has created all of us and he loves all of us, and we are all his children, and he created us to dwell together in unity, to love one another, to bear one another's burdens, to look out for one another. And his thoughts towards each and every one of us, they are thoughts of peace and not of evil, collectively. So how then do we, going forward, how do we take this forward? Because remember, the aim of this discussion is we want to change this narrative. I know there are only 4 of us, but this video, I believe, is going to go into a lot of homes, it's going to be listened to, watched by a number of people. And I hope by hearing it, this is going to change people's mindset about other women, perception, or even make people want to try, at least give it a try. So ladies, how do we take it forward? You've mentioned love, you've mentioned, there's competition, there's this, there's suspicion. We're not speaking more about what women are doing. So that kind of overshadows the good that women are doing, because we tend to focus more on what they're not doing. So going forward, and I'm going to come to you first, Monica, going forward, how do we change this?
Yeah, thank you, Pastor Eileen and Sister Monica, for the things you've said. I mean, you were just saying my mind as I sat there listening to you. You talked about even girls that have not experienced it, they kind of have an idea that that is how life is, and they already hold in that view. And I think that is right, which is something we need to start from. Let's change from the kind of message we're projecting even to our young ones and our children as they are growing. Somebody like me got to know this fact very early in life too. I remember getting to a workplace and I already had that shield, that defensive attitude in me, thinking working with these women, this is how they're going to be, but of course I was disproved by their good nature, and I realized I still have my boss who is still my friend today. We met at that organization and we're still friends. She's my boss. She was my boss then, but we're friends. We're not age mates, but we're friends now because I allowed myself to also embrace the love she brought. So I think we should start from the point of parents who are training young girls. I mean, young girls or boys, but we're particularly talking about women now. Let's not give them that idea that there's something to compete for anywhere as you go along in life. When you see another woman, yes, it's good to be their best, but it's not in competition with anybody. Whatever you want to be in life, you can be, and every other person too can be. They can also get to the top, to the pinnacle of their career without you, being at competition with them. So it's important we are letting our children, our young ones, as they are growing, understand the way life should truly be, the love that they should live in. So it is important we do it as some kind of teaching as they are growing, so that when they get to that point too, number one, they are not going to organizations or wherever they are working with that mindset. And number two, they are also not exhibiting it, because already if you think that's how it is, even you unknowingly, you could begin to exhibit it because you think, oh, that's how life is. Women are supposed to resist other women. So it starts from the place of training for those who are growing. And for those of us who are already there, we should talk about it more, like everybody said. Some time ago, on Facebook, there was a challenge that said, women supporting women, celebrating women or so. And people were putting up pictures of different women that had been good in their lives, or maybe somebody has touched them and they were writing about them. And I also got something like that. I didn't even know. I saw on somebody's status and she wrote about me. And that day, it was very fulfilling for me. In fact, it was a message I needed on that day. I was asking God about something that he asked me to do, and I was a bit getting discouraged. And I saw the message, and it really, really ministered to me. It was fulfilling. So for us as women or men out there, living in that kind of competitive role, let's know that the fulfilling part of being able to be a blessing to somebody else, being able to help somebody else, is very fulfilling. If you understand that your purpose in life is to be a blessing, because that's what God has brought us into this world to be. He's brought us in this world to bless us and to be a blessing. If you understand that as your purpose, it will be easy for you to be able to do that, supporting other people to also rise up in life. So let's teach our children, let's celebrate ourselves more, let's talk about it the more. And when we experience it, like I've also experienced it in the church, the negative, I've experienced it, the positive. I worked as a women leader of more than 600 women before, and we had a good time, fulfilling purpose, because some other women supported me to be the leader. So let's spread the news that it's not always bad, it's good. And it can always be good. And just like Pastor Eileen said, love is very key. Living in the love of God and in his purpose would always make us work together and support one another as we should. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Pastor Yinka. Pastor Eileen, please. What can we do to take this forward in a positive way?
In addition to what Pastor Are said, the teaching at home is very, very important. When you have young girls, and of course boys, but like she said, we're talking about women today. When you have young girls at home and they hear you critical of other ladies that you welcome into your home, and you celebrate them, oh, hello, nice to see you, and then your children hear you, tearing them apart, no matter how insignificant what you're saying, it forms something in them. It makes them start disbelieving, distrusting women. I've heard several people say, I work better with men. I've said that myself in the past. I say, I work better with men. Men are more of my friends. I can't deal with women. So once we keep saying things like that, then we can't. So training is very, very important. Subtle, making subtle, grooming people in a subtle manner. Even women in church. Pastor Ara said she led 600 women. I almost doffed my hat for her to lead 600 women in church. You're an angel, So subtle things like that, subtle help, in a very, very subtle manner to transfer experiences, Most people don't want to pray with each other. Women don't want to pray with each other. They don't want to confess their sins one to another. Why should I come and confess my sin to you? Well, that's the instruction in the Bible. If I confess my sin to Sister Monica, I'll be open and then she prays for me, I receive answer to what she's prayed for me about, of course she will become more than a woman to me. She becomes a friend, she becomes a sister. But we are so secretive, and the devil thrives in secrecy. That's it. The devil just thrives in secrecy. Somebody just needs to hear that, oh, I've gone through that before.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? I've gone through that before. And that becomes the medicine for that season. Oh, really? What did you do? And that's it. You pray about it, boom, done. But when you hold back, you want to feel so sanctimonious, or how do they say it, holier than thou. It doesn't really work. And that is, where we need to begin to change ourselves, begin to renew our own minds, so that if I change the way I behave, and I'm conscious of the things I'm saying around the people, to people around me, and you do the same, Monica does the same, we'll begin to change that narrative.
Well, ladies, Monica, please.
Yes, we can change the narrative. Okay, I'll talk from the perspective of a senior manager or a woman who's attained some level of achievement in her life. Well, she might be very, very, very busy, but it will help if she creates time to mentor the younger ones. For example, a young couple join the organization and they want to be mentored. They should have some sort of career path plan, a roadmap to what they want to achieve, and then how they can be supported with measurable goals here and there. And then also follow them up. And when they encounter problems, help them. Yeah, so that's from the perspective of a senior woman to help a very younger one coming into an organization, because it's a male-dominated industry. And also talking to the woman who has the opportunity to, or privy to an information, and they say you need to share, bring other people along. I would say when we share, we can achieve a lot. For example, when we are in agreement, there's nothing that's difficult for us that we cannot achieve. We can achieve a lot. So in that sense, work together with other people, share when you have to share, don't withhold information. And then also, if we start collaborating, and when we collaborate, we should work, for example, when we're strong in an area and the other person is weak in an area, and we're able to share, as Pastor Eileen said, as people, we've been hearing this all evening so far. When we are open to each other and we share, not having any agenda, we will really, really change the narrative. There are lots of good things that are happening out there. And also, as I've said, in my own life, I've seen beautiful, beautiful collaborations and it working in my own personal life. And also, there's also the reverse, but we should focus more on changing the narrative, not focusing on the negative. Going forward, help, collaborate, instead of compete with each other.
Thank you very much for that. As you were talking, what came to my mind, when you were talking about agreement, what came to my mind is that scripture that talks about, can two work together except they be agreed? It just makes me to, it just came to my mind, and I'm thinking, if we are working together, but we're not in agreement and we're suspicious of one another, then whatever it is that we want to do is hardly going we're hardly going to accomplish it. Or even if we accomplish it, we might not accomplish it as we ought to. The Bible also says that one shall chase 1,000 and two shall put 10,000 to flight. So the power of two, or the power of many, is greater than the power of one. And if we say that, because it's also possible for people to say that they are working together, but they are not really working together, because they are really holding back, or they are backbiting one another, or they are looking for faults. I've had a situation about, it's not even funny now. Somebody asked somebody to pray a prayer of agreement, because Pastor Eileen mentioned prayer with them. And the person that this, let's say Sister A asked Sister B to pray a prayer of agreement with them, rather than Sister B excusing herself and saying, look, I don't agree with you on this thing. She came together with Sister B, Sister A, they prayed together, and then she went back to talk about, don't mind her. Does she think she's even going to get that to happen? Can you imagine that kind of a thing? Sister A has gone away believing my prayers are answered, where two or more people shall agree as touching a thing. She doesn't know that the prayer has not gone anywhere. There was no agreement. So, again, another thing is the fact that, as Pastor Eileen mentioned, that exactly what she said, that's what she said was what prompted me to say this, that when a woman tells you another woman something, it should remain with you. Because that's another reason why some women are very wary of one another. Maybe we are wired somehow, but it doesn't mean that our mouth should be loose. When people talk to us about issues, then they should not go and find that their matter is being discussed somewhere else. So we need to address this as well. Women, please, let us address this. When somebody tells us something that is painful to them or something that is of concern to them, it should remain like that without them even having to tell us, oh, please do not repeat this anyway. It should stay that way. So, and I believe with everything that you have said, I'm just excited about everything that I have heard today. It's just, it's just so informative, it's so encouraging, it's so motivating. But before we end this, I just want to hear your final thoughts, ladies. Do you have any final words, any final thoughts that you'd like to share with everyone out there? And I'll come to you first, Monica, please.
We should be conscious of the gifts that God has given us and know how to collaborate and share. And then also do not withhold how we feel when there are issues, to be expressive, and then also to be more realistic. And then when you're offering help, make sure you are genuinely offering help. And then also, when we work together, we can grow. There's nothing that is too hard for us to achieve because of the way God's created us. So I will say we should work together, we should share more, we should not withhold information from each other. And we should care, most importantly, care.
Thank you very much for that. Pastor Inka, your final thoughts, please.
The Bible says that it's a good thing when brethren dwell together in unity, because there the Lord commands his blessing. So I want to say to every woman out there, even if you're a man and you're watching, that there's blessing in unity. There's blessing in doing things together. In my language, there's an adage that a stick of broom cannot sweep as like the bunch will do. So when it's a bunch, you will sweep well, you will achieve more. And one thing you should also know out there is that you never gain anything by pulling somebody else down or not allowing somebody else to move up. But when you are the reason why somebody else is up or achieving, there's joy in it. So if you haven't experienced it because you have been resisting another woman, it is time to experience that joy and the blessing that he gives. And I pray that God will give all of us grace as women to please him in our relationship with others in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Pastor Eileen, please.
I'd like to say to any woman who has been hurt in one way or the other from either being abandoned, not supported, trampled upon, I pray that the balm of Gilead will heal us, because we cannot remain in the past, forget the things of the past. Let's move forward and ask the Lord to help us and show us the way forward. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. I think it was Sister Monica that mentioned when women come on the table with low self-esteem. I pray that we'll take our relevance and our identity from who God has made us, not from the circumstances we've gone through. So let's come together. Let's come together and do life as Christ has ordered us to do. It's more blessed to give than to receive. That's my final word to any woman. Tomorrow will be better.
Amen.
As long as we're looking up to Jesus.
Amen. Amen. Ladies, Thank you so much. This has just been awesome. This has been a wealth of knowledge, wealth of information. And I pray that the Lord will help each and every one of us, as you have prayed, ladies. The Lord will help each and every one of us, that we will not just hear this and then put it aside and let whatever it is that is going on out there, or whatever anybody else says out there, just take away our good intentions. So somebody, you might be listening and you might just want to take all this information on board and do something about it. And then someone goes and does something and say, look at me, I was even trying to help to use this information. I should have known better. Let me just go back to the way I was. But you see, by continuing to do that, there's not going to be change. Somebody has to make the first move. And hopefully, by you making the first move, then another person would be encouraged to follow your lead. Or somebody is behaving in a bad way towards us. Let's send the message. Let's pass on across the message by saying, yes, I know you did this to me and I'm hurt, but I will not do the same to you. Respond in a kind manner, in a loving manner. And until we are ready to do that, it might take time. God looks at the heart. And if God knows that in your heart you really want to do it and you commit it unto him, God will help you. And I just want to say also, pray for other women. Please pray for other women. Even the ones that are unkind to you, pray for them. Pray for one another. Whether they know about it or not, they don't have to know about it. Pray for one another. Our prayer goes a long way. And the Bible, the word of God commands it as well, that we should pray for one another. And on that note, I don't want to end this conversation because I'm so much enjoying it, ladies. I just feel like we should continue, but time is fast spent. And we're going to end on this note and say that let us be kind to one another so that the whole world gets taken care of. Thank you once again, ladies, for joining me on today's episode. And God bless you. God bless you. Till next time.